India are doing well in the ICC Champions Trophy. When you look at white ball cricket in general, when you look at the ODI World Cup of 2023, you look at the T20 World Cup of 2024, you look at the Champions Trophy of 2025, so far, India are doing everything right and are looking as one of the favourites to win the ICC Champions Trophy 2025. This also has raised a lot of questions that whether this particular schedule that is there, is it favouring India? Is the fact that India are playing in Dubai all their games, is it giving them an unfair advantage? Now, this is what was built up by the English press in the United Kingdom. Firstly, one article in the Telegraph that yes, India will not be playing in Pakistan, you'll be playing in Dubai. Once again, it shows India's clout in the wrong way. And now Nasser Hussain and Michael Atherton, two former England captains, have also raised some kind of a thing that whether this current arrangement favours India or not. Because Michael Atherton stated, what about the advantage India have in playing in Dubai? Only in Dubai. Which seems to me to be a hard to quantify advantage, but an undeniable advantage. He's saying that India are playing all their games in Dubai. They don't have to travel much. They don't have to do anything. They can get rested adequately, whereas other teams will have to travel to another nation to get used to that. On these similar lines, he's saying they're playing at just one venue. They don't have to travel either between venues or between countries as a lot of other teams have to do. Advantage number 2. Advantage number 3. Selection can focus on conditions in Dubai. They'll know where they are playing the semi-final. That seems to me to be an undeniable advantage. Hard to quantify how big an advantage. 3 advantages. From selection to travel to knowing where you're going to play in the semi-final. 3 advantages. After the 3 advantages were pointed out, Nasser Hussain chipped in. They probably knew what Dubai is going to be like. There was a bit of debate as to why don't you have gone for an extra seamer? Why all these spinners? Now we can see why. The tired pitches in Dubai are ensuring that yes, you play at least 3 spinners in a team. All the others are playing 1 full-time spinner and the other is a part-time spinner. But then what do you do? Because of the existing India versus Pakistan bilateral tensions, this was anyway bound to happen, and I'll explain later why. Other teams will have to pick playing 11s for different conditions in Karachi, Lahore and Rawalpindi, and then they have to travel and adjust to these conditions in Dubai. So 5 distinct advantages. How will you argue that? Is it all been made to tailor India and ensure that okay, they win the ICC Champions Trophy because of all these scheduling arrangements that is there? 3 points to dispel this entire notion. Now, let me make one thing very clear here. There is nothing called as nationalism. There is nothing called patriotism here. It is just pure facts. 2023 ODI World Cup. Some teams were playing in only 8 cities. They were playing in one city at least 2 games. India were the only team that traveled to 9 different cities. Traveling was more. Everything was more. So there was no outrage over that. India went the extra mile. Of course, what went against India in that 2023 ODI World Cup was pitch fixing. You fixed the pitches in Mumbai, you fixed the pitches in Ahmedabad, and you fell rightfully into that trap. When you start fixing pitches, you have no right to win. Point number 1. Point number 2. And this is where the English media is so conveniently forgetting. Original Champions Trophy plan had India playing only in Lahore, but no outrage then. You remember when there was a draft schedule being prepared, India, the one proposition that was there was that India play all their games in Lahore because it becomes logistically easier to go back to India. So that is why Lahore at this point in time was considered to be the only venue. India, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, India, New Zealand, everything was going to be held in Lahore. One semi-final, if India qualified, would be in Lahore. The other would be in Karachi. The final would be held in Lahore. Why no outrage then? Is it because some people are totally missing the point on India versus Pakistan? The third and the most important point, which dispels their entire hypocrisy, is that India versus Pakistan tensions mean that traveling to different venues not logistically possible. Now tell me, if there are bilateral tensions between India and Pakistan, how on earth can a very, very weak financial PCB manage their security tasks? Different securities in Rawalpindi, different securities in Karachi, different securities in Lahore. Sure, certain people may have gone there, but managing a personal security and managing an entire team's security is an entirely different thing altogether. This comes on the backdrop of certain terror outfits which are still active in Pakistan, of ransom or kidnapping threats in the Champions Trophy to foreigners. Now, draw your own logistical conclusions on that. Does India have an advantage? Not really. What if India loses? Then all these people will then go back to their shell and say, oh, India did not play good cricket. But the schedule in the Champions Trophy was never meant to favor India. This is all Pakistan's doing because they have bilateral tensions. They never sorted out bilateral tensions with India. That's why this was a situation waiting to happen. Second, the only time India blatantly had the schedule advantage was 2024 T20 World Cup, Guyana. Nowhere in the history of ICC events has the blatant favoritism been so evident as it was on 2024. When India, if they qualified for the semi-final, knew much in advance they would play in Guyana. Who has ever done that? No one. Yes, if this argument was made in 2024, I would have bought it. But in the Champions Trophy of 2025, there is absolutely no standing whatsoever. The schedule was agreed upon, everybody had to agree upon, because Pakistan was unwilling to flinch. And there are bilateral tensions. Let's make no mistake about it. Let's not whitewash it. Pakistan-India tensions have remained, and that is why sporting relations between them is always a question mark. So that is why Atherton and Hussain, great commentators that they are, good players and captains that they were, they have completely missed the mark on the ICC Champions Trophy 2025. Yes, arguments that they make may suit some entities, but in the case of India, in the Champions Trophy, not up to the mark. Agreed if it was 2024, totally disagree, it's in 2025. Thank you so much folks for joining us for this video. Subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis.